So this video is going to show you what to do when there are decimals in both the dividend and the divisor. The very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my division house. There it is. I'm going to take the first number, which is the dividend, and I'm going to put it inside the division house. So 1.972 will go on the inside. And then the divisor is going to go on the outside. So I'm going to put 0.02 on the outside of the division house. Now, I don't like that I have decimals on the outside because if they stay there, then that means I'm going to have to ask myself how many times 0.02 goes into these numbers. And that's really confusing. So I don't want this number to be a decimal. I want it to be a whole number. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the decimal point that's in the divisor and I'm going to do what I like to call take it to the house. So I'm going to take the decimal point and I'm going to take it to the house, which means that I moved it over 2 place values so that the 0.02 became a 2. Because I moved it over 2 place values in the divisor on the outside, I'm going to do the same thing on the inside. I'm going to move this over 2 place values as well so that this number becomes 197.2. On the outside, if I had only needed to move the decimal point over 1 place value so that it was right next to the division house, I would have only moved it over 1 place value in the dividend as well. So because this kind of looks confusing the way that it is, I'm going to rewrite it down here so that the decimal point is in the correct place and it doesn't look messy like this. So I'm going to rewrite this so that it's 197.2 on the inside, and on the outside it's just 2. Because I moved it over the decimal point, I moved it over the same number of places on the inside and the outside, it's not going to change the value of our answer. Our answer is going to come out to be the same thing. So now that I've done that, I'm going to write my long division steps over here on the side and check them off as I do them. So divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. I'm going to start with divide. I'm asking myself how many times 2 divides into 1. 2 cannot go into 1, so I'll put an X there as a placeholder. And then I'll move over to the 19. 2 divides into 19. It goes in 9 times. So I'm going to put a 9 up here, and I'm going to check off that division step. Next step is multiplication. I'm going to multiply 9 times 2 to get 18. That was multiplication. Now I'm going to subtract. 19 minus 18 is 1. And then the last step is bring down. So I'm going to bring down that 7 so that it's right next to the 1. And that was the bring down step. Now I'm going to start back over because this number is not a 0. I'm going to start with division. I'm going to ask myself how many times 2 goes into 17. 2 divides into 17 8 times. So I'm going to check that off. Next step is multiplication. 8 times 2 is 16. That was multiplication. Next step is subtraction. So I'm subtracting 17 minus 16 to get 1. And then the last step is bring down. So I'm going to bring down the 2 so that it's right next to the 1. Okay? Again, this number is not a 0. So I'm going to do my, my long division steps one more time. I'm going to ask myself how many times 2 divides into 12. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So I'm going to put a 6 right here. That was division. Now I'm going to do multiplication. 6 times 2 is 12. That was multiplication. Next step is subtraction. So I'm subtracting 12 minus 12 to get 0. That was subtraction. And there are no other numbers to bring down. And this number right here is a 0, so that means that I'm finished. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this decimal point in my dividend, and I'm going to bring it straight up through the roof of the house and put it between the 8 and the 6. So that means that the answer to my division problem is 98.6. That's also your body temperature.